right, I think we can get started. Some people may still be coming in. Holly, you can hear me all right? Use you as my test. Good, great. Well, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us over this lunch hour for one of the Dean's lunchtime chats. I'm Ann Massey. I hope I've been in front of you at different venues before. And it's a little bit belated, but nonetheless, a very hearty, happy new year to all of you. I hope you had a peaceful holiday season and are off to a good new year. We're looking forward to better days ahead. I just want to give you, for those who haven't attended before, we've had a few of these lunchtime webinars, chats in 2020, trying to keep our alumni and our friends updated on what's going on in the school. And we've actually found it to be a really great way to stay in touch with everyone. We've had a good feedback and good conversations, and I very much enjoyed doing this, particularly under our current circumstances in the pandemic. So this spring, today, is the first of our lunchtime chats that I'm going to be hosting. And these are going to be covering and delving into the 5 strategic priorities that we set forth for Eisenberg this past year. As many of you know, this is my second year on the ground at Eisenberg, and spent a lot of time last year trying to get my head around and trying to address the question with all the good people in the school and our alumni and our donors and friends, but looking at the question of how do we sustain and advance Eisenberg's reputation for excellence in all we do? And that's a big question. And the 5 priorities that we set forth were that we believe are essential to advancing that reputation and really keeping us amongst the very best business schools, not only nationally, but internationally, are enabling career success for our students and graduates, attracting exceptional students, sustaining faculty excellence, in particular with regard to research, creating global citizens and inclusive leaders, now more than ever important, and inspiring innovation in teaching and learning. And so today, as you know, we're going to be focusing on our efforts around enabling career success. And then later in the spring, we'll be touching on and delving into the others. Just so you know, with each of these 5 priorities, we have working groups that have been spending the last several months looking at our existing initiatives that will drive each of the priorities, and also thinking of new initiatives. And Holly is going to be talking about some of those today with our Office of Career Success. So let me introduce to you here Holly Lawrence. Holly is our Assistant Dean and Senior Lecturer. She's our Assistant Dean for our new Office of Career Success, which I'll describe in a second. Holly's been with Eisenberg for a number of years and has just really run with this new appointment. She started in this role late last summer, and I've had a delightful time working with her as others in the school have. So we're very lucky to have Holly in this role. I just have a couple of logistic points I'll share with you. We are recording, as you probably know, so this will be available for others to see after this event today. And we are using the Q&A at the bottom of your screens if you have a question. In advance, when you registered, we received a number of questions in advance that we'll be trying to get to in the second half of our session today. So, and if we can't get to everything, we will try to address them post-session. So let me just talk really quickly here, because I want to get to Holly and get to your questions, really about the importance of career success and career services and our need to really focus on this as a priority. Many of you are alumni, I think, of Eisenberg, and so you had experiences with Chase while you were here. You certainly have advanced your careers over many years. And as we take a look at, and as I looked at this issue over the last year and a half of joining Eisenberg, it is absolutely essential that to be a top business school as we are, that we, like other top business schools, dedicate resources and effort to this space. All the top business schools, if you take a look and do some benchmarking comparison, do this. And it really is essential to advancing our reputation. Recruiters really look to what we produce through the Office of Career Success and how well those students do on day one, whether in internships or more permanent jobs and so on. I will tell you, and you may not be aware of this, and people are somewhat surprised, the Office of Career Success is the only such office on the UMass Amherst campus. where there are other career services for other students in schools, but we are the only one that have a dedicated office to this. And this is what the student fee goes towards supporting. So oftentimes families ask, well, what does the Eisenberg fee cover? This allows us to have advisors, career coaches, tools and techniques in the office. It's never enough, but it is absolutely essential to what we're trying to do. And what we're trying to do, and I want to speak just for a few moments to the evolution of career services at Eisenberg. I mentioned a minute ago the Chase Career Center, which many of you were engaged in during your time at Eisenberg. We had the Chase Career Center, and we also had our business and professional communications faculty on the academic side. Those two units actually work pretty closely together as we were trying to get students, prepare them to go out on interviews, to write resumes, cover letters, be able to put together presentations, to speak and to write coherently with critical minds and thinking. So those two areas really work hand in hand and are more essential than ever as we think about making sure that our students are top-notch and very competitive when they go out onto the job market. And so as we looked at this over the last year and late last spring, working with others in the school, I decided that a reorganization was needed that was going to help us move forward. And so we took Chase and our business and professional communications faculty, and we integrated them into this Office of Career Success, which Holly very graciously agreed to head up as a new assistant dean's role. Those two units work so closely together. They work so well together. I think in the 6 months, it's been a resounding success. And we've heard from alumni that are very, very happy with this. I will say that our goal, and part of the goal with creating the Office of Career Success, is to expand access, that we want to move just beyond providing services to undergraduate students on the ground, but also graduate students that are here in Amherst or will be back to Amherst hopefully soon, as well as all of our online students. As you know, we have an extensive online program. How do we provide services, career services, professional business communication services to those students as well? And then also, as we evolve this office, we want to provide services to our alumni. When we say enable career success, career doesn't end on the day you graduate from Eisenberg. Your career expands over many years, many decades. And so we want to be there for you as our alumni. We're not there yet, so don't start calling the office yet. We're not there with our resources, but that's our goal. That's our long-term goal. Hopefully not too long now. So I'm going to turn it to Holly. And Holly, can you just describe from your perspective the mission of the new office and how you work with students? Because some of our alums may be a little bit removed from that time-wise, and how does the office really support our students?
Yes, of course. And thank you, Anne, for that lovely opening and welcoming. And hello, everyone. I should start by saying that I, too, am a UMass alum. I earned my PhD at UMass, and I am a parent, an alum. My daughter graduated from Eisenberg actually in 2019. So I share an affinity with you all in that way for sure. So let me just say that the mission, to put it succinctly, really is to help our students achieve career success by starting when they enter as first-year students through their senior year or in graduate school and after graduation, as Dean Massey just said. We want our students to gain the skills and self-knowledge to advance in their career journeys. And we want them to do that by both finding the right jobs and by helping them develop as a whole person. And by that, I mean, we really want them to find satisfaction and pleasure in their pursuits. So we work with our students in the classes we teach through business and professional communications, as Dean Massey has said. We do a great deal of collaborative work between the two units in order to help us achieve that mission and help our students really think beyond what it is to just apply for a job, but that they are comfortable in the decisions that they're making along the way and to explore career opportunities. So we have guest visits, in fact, from our career coaches into our classes. We encourage our students through our classes to make appointments, one-on-one appointments with our career coaches and with our career peers. Our career peer program, by the way, is sponsored by alumni donors. And our career peers are juniors and seniors who are trained to work with younger undergraduates usually, but sometimes with people who are from their same year. And they meet and go over resumes, they talk about career trajectory, they talk about majors, and they can really relate to each other around the whole process of navigating careers and making decisions along those lines. So some of the growth I see certainly is furthering the collaboration between the two units vis-a-vis the Office of Career Success, and continuing to offer more career and professional development activities to more and more of our student segments. We, for example, are holding new workshops in career and professional development that oftentimes are put on by members of business communications and by members of the Chase Career Center. And we're offering those workshops and new boot camps, in fact, to our graduate students. These are new segments for us to serve our graduate students in the MSBA, MFAI, MSA, and the online MBA programs. So if you don't mind, I think I'll just go through a few of the things that we're doing, including ways to access our services. So right from the start, when the pandemic hit back in March, coming up on a year now, Chase Career Center moved all coaching appointments, all other resources and services online. It was a swift and major pivot. We created drop-in and one-to-one appointments on Zoom for our students, and we communicated then, and we have for a long time now, and continue to communicate our services via weekly emails that go out this week with Chase, emails that go out on Sundays, and other postings that we make available through our website, of course, which we are updating daily with events. And we've maintained certainly our networking events during the pandemic, and in fact have increased some of our reach really. Because of the pandemic, we're doing obviously everything online, and we're able to connect with people who may not otherwise be able to make it to Amherst for something in person. So that's been a really big successful experience for us so far, despite the nature and tragic nature of the pandemic. So some of the services that we've expanded because of the pandemic, but also because of our intentional growth in the area of career and professional development, and include things like joining the rest of campus for an online career fair. So we participated in the purchase of a career fair platform that we use to host our Eisenberg Career Day in the fall. So the pandemic didn't stop us from doing that. And in fact, perhaps because it was remote, we saw even more employers participate in our Eisenberg Career Day. And we've developed new resources to help students navigate virtual events because we recognize that's a very different experience for them. So we are including that in our curriculum in the classes we teach through business and professional communications, as well as offer resources online for our students. We've begun to expand our services, as Dean Massey has said, to our online student populations. One example I can give of what we've done that we will continue to do in even greater ways is we've paired a career coach from Chase Career Center with our online undergraduate degree seeking students. That career coach is working very closely with the faculty who teach career and professional development to that online population. Now that course was not taught to undergraduate online degree seeking students until fall. We have been teaching it to our on-campus students. So we've brought some alignment there by making it part of the online student requirement as well. And then by partnering with Chase Career Center, we're able to create small group activities for those students, as well as more one-to-one appointments. We found that that student group has different needs from some of our other students on campus, and we really wanted to respond to what those needs are by making those partnerships work. Other online students, of course, there's our large online graduate student population. And I mentioned that we're launching new workshops and boot camps for those students. As a matter of fact, yesterday we launched the first of a series of online MBA workshops. So we hosted that yesterday, and we had a nice turnout of folks. It was online MBA students and recent graduates from the online MBA program. And the presenter was the executive director of Chase Career Center, Nick Wegman. And then next week, we're going to be offering that same group a workshop on LinkedIn, and the presenter will be someone from graduate programs, Trista Heavey. And then in the first week of February, we're offering that same group a workshop on cover letters. And that presenter is Brian Hintz from Business Communications. So I'm sharing that detail with you because I wanted you to see that it really is a collaborative effort in our ways of trying to reach our different segments and populations. We recognize what the need is, and we're trying to address it and reach people as well as we can. And so that's just one example. Of course, we're also looking at ways to expand our services to alumni. So we are developing more and more online resources. And I don't think Dean Massey mentioned this term yet, but I want to talk to you a little bit about something we're calling IDAs. So that's
affectionately.
That's an acronym for Eisenberg Digital Asset. And what those are actually are resources that we're developing for our undergraduates and our graduate students, as well as our alums. And we're going to be placing these online in different locations so that you can find them as easily as possible. So I am going to do a screen share. Bear with me here for a second.
While Holly's getting this up, let me just speak to this just for a second. The notion of reusable digital assets, or in our case, the Eisenberg digital assets IDAs that we'll affectionately call them, are really important because if you can imagine, we don't have the human resource to basically provide human services to every student, undergraduate student, graduate, online, offline, and our alumni. And sometimes students, they're doing a cover letter and it's 3 o'clock in the morning. Clearly, they're not going to be able to access a career coach. So the creation of these assets will be essential for us to expand access to our whole population that would be interested in advancing their career and doing some things. So this is an initiative that we have started, and we've got, I'll let Holly give some examples here, but this is just coming off the ground. We're very, very excited about it.
Yeah, and I'm intentionally starting with one that is in process, but it can give you a sense of the kind of things that we're doing and the range of things that we're doing. So this is actually a piece that we are developing starting with the OIM department, and it's something that we want to be able to share with employers. So I don't think this is necessarily the kind of thing that we would immediately call one of our IDAs, but it is one of the priorities I have in creating these digital resources so we can reach different populations in different ways. So in this case, we're trying to create basically a template or an infographic that we can use with each major that highlights what it means to hire one of our grads or one of our students, an internship, for example, from each of the different departments and majors that we can share with our employers. So it's sort of at a glance, or that we can post through LinkedIn for our alumni and others to see who these students are and what they bring to the table. If you are with, say, if you're looking at an OIM student in Eisenberg. So we have some quick facts that we share through this one. You can see that I have notes that I've developed for our designer and others so that we can still get this content just where we want it. But ultimately, it's something that shows who our top companies are and just at a glance who our students are per major. So that's one example. Now, here is our new resume guide, and this is going to be going into circulation this spring. So it's a how to build your resume piece. It has hot links throughout. I'm not going to click on all of them because if I do, we'll end up in places that'll be hard for me to get out of and get you back where I want us to be. But this resume guide is something that, as Dean Massey said, students can access because it's assigned to them in their career and professional development class, or they can access it online because, hey, what was that I was supposed to do if I'm trying to use the Eisenberg resume template, and they can go find it. It's also going to be available to our online population. So this is the one that we've developed for our undergraduate population, and I'm just slowly scrolling through a little bit of it so that you can see what we're making available. One of the things that I love about it is we have these little areas called Ask a Career Coach. So we know who our students are. We know some of the questions that we have. So we're trying to put them in here so that we can ask them for them and get quick, succinct answers to them in advance. So we have in development a version of this for our one-year master's students, as well as our MBA students, and soon our alumni. So let's see, this is another example of something that's very different. This is a guide to documenting sources in academic and business communications. This is something that we find our students need in all of their classes. So this is really more in the business and professional communications realm, but it helps them think about not only how to cite something in a formal essay, let's say for a class, but also when they're doing a PowerPoint presentation and what it might look like in a business setting where people aren't necessarily looking for that long, sometimes frankly clunky URL or citation in the middle of the text, and how to make it slick but credible and accurate for attributing the sources that they've borrowed from for their work. So this is another example. And then I wanted just to show you some of the things that we're using in our classes, and then we are putting voiceover and audio versions to most of these, just by the way, that we make available as well, either again through classes or online. This is one on the elevator pitch. My colleague Bob Bowles is a whiz at PowerPoints and shares everything. So this is one on the elevator pitch. We have something on interpersonal effectiveness. So again, taught in the classroom, but then made available online so people can access it. They tend to have speaker notes that allow students who are not necessarily in the class listening to a lecture, if you will, they can find these things and hot links, know where to go to get more information and that kind of thing. So that just gives you a sense of some of the materials we're talking about when we say IDAs or Eisenberg digital assets that we have in production right now, and some rolling hot off the presses for the fall semester.
And let me just jump in and just make first of all, thank Holly and everyone that is working on these. But I think you can see the array of things that the office is doing, working with students, undergrads, grads, and the like, over the course of their time at Eisenberg. And I just want to share with you that when the first fall I was here, fall of now 2019, I met with some students. I was meeting with students and they came to me, some of them are juniors and seniors and getting ready to go out on their internships and jobs. They are so polished. They would leave my office and I would say to people, I'd say, who are these students? Who are these people? Because they're so talented and they're so polished. And I think that the office and the work of the office and the faculty and the things that Holly's describing really are a testament to how good we do. And it makes a difference. I mean, it really makes them competitive when they go out on the job. So Holly, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just had to share that because I've been so impressed with the students.
Yes, I could not agree more. They come in great and they're a pleasure to work with, I have to say. I love Eisenberg students. And I'm not just saying that as a parent of an Eisenberg student because I've been for years and I've loved working with the students
It's true.
all along. So you saw the array again of the IDAs, and we actually, I didn't mention this, but we are developing some that are more sort of straight up videos, if you will, that have a little bit of animation and also some narration. We just shot footage of one that will hopefully roll out soon that's on storytelling and how that tradition grounded in rhetoric that you can take way back to Aristotle has stayed within the communications that we see in business today and that we might use in the classroom, but certainly rhetorical strategies that we see showing up in business communications that are practically happening at work. And so I'm excited about that kind of thing we'll be sharing as well. So where we're going to put all these things and how people are going to access them has become more and more of a pressing question. So we are actively engaged in planning a way to expand our offerings online, and that means we're looking at ways to move from our website to something that will allow us a little more daily dynamic updating and interaction so that we can present networking events and job postings that are targeted for specific segments within Eisenberg, as well as links to our different assets. So we're looking at what we can do to expand our resources online and sort of reach our different populations as effectively as possible.
And so please stay tuned. We can't announce it today, but the platform and what we're going to be doing, hopefully we'll be rolling out later this spring. So stay tuned for that. We're very excited about it, but we need to get the contract in place. So go ahead, Holly.
Well, no, that was really it. I thought I would leave it there as a little bit of a teaser, if you will, but we're excited about being able to expand our services online, that's for sure. So I'll just.
So I hope all of you can see how much Holly is doing a wonderful job leading this, and that her team working in the office is just phenomenal. So there's a lot of really good work going on. And before I turn to the questions, a number of you have asked, how can you as alumni and friends support the Office of Career Success? And, I would say there's multiple ways. Obviously, we're always very thankful for any financial support that you can lend to support the office. We had, for example, I'll mention two of our good friends, alumni, John Spinney and Dennis Donovan, who got very excited about the office and have contributed to the efforts around the creation of the IDAs, among other things. They're just two examples, and many of you have already donated, but any financial support that we can use to expand our services and increase access for students and alumni, which is the direction that we would like to go, is greatly appreciated. The other thing, beyond financial support, and we appreciate that, particularly under circumstance, some people may not be able to do that. But if you are in a position where you can help from within your own organization, identify internship opportunities for students. Some companies, I know many of you already are engaged in that, but if you're not and you can identify new opportunities for students, a number of questions have come in, or comments, that the pandemic really did a number on internships last summer and into this year. So we're still working. Holly can speak to that in a bit about what efforts are going on in that space. But if you have opportunities for students, we welcome them. We absolutely welcome them, whether they're internships, more permanent jobs, and or projects in our classroom. So many of you have offered student projects. That's an experience. And I was in a meeting yesterday with one of our industry partners that did do projects with a class last fall, an OAM class. And that projects that the students did, exposed the students to the company, which in turn hired two students, gave them internships for this coming summer. Wonderful, so it's a low cost. You give them the projects, you get to see their work. And experience, as I said, experience leads to competence, and competence leads to confidence. And that confidence is going to make for resilient students. And so anything you can do to offer experiences to our students is more than welcome. We really appreciate it, from projects to internships. And also, many of you serve, and if you haven't served on alumni panels, tying back into your home discipline, whether it's OIM or finance or marketing. Those panels are through the office. I know, Holly, you run panels often. They are greatly welcome. You talk about careers and things. And we're hoping, we're not there yet, but one of the things, and Holly, I don't think tapped into it, but we want to move and try to create a mentoring program where we match alumni, connect alumni to our students, where you can help mentor them as they're making their way through navigating the job search process, navigating the internships. And as I mentioned, you know, experience leads to competence. They often lack some confidence, especially on that first internship. We try to get them ready. So these things, financial support, internships, job opportunities, involvement as alumni in mentoring and or panels or any other way, we welcome it and we greatly appreciate it. So I will stop there. I'm going to turn, because we've got about probably about 25 minutes or so here. I want to get to some of our questions that you've asked, and I apologize, we probably won't get to all of them. We've got a number come in. We'll do our best, but we will follow up after the event and see if we can hit some of these home. So let's get into these. Holly, and I'm going to play the role of the moderator here. Here's a couple of questions about really the broader business and professional communications. How does Eisenberg help students develop the professional communication and interpersonal skills necessary to manage day-to-day interactions with managers and peers? And you kind of touched a little bit on this earlier.
Yeah, we really try to address this topic in the classes that we teach. So business and professional communications teaches first-year students through transitions. That's our first-year student seminar. We have the career and professional development class that's offered to sophomores. And then we have what's on campus commonly referred to as junior year writing. But in Eisenberg, it's much more. It's management communications. So it is a mix of business writing and business speaking, if you will. So we have a number of assignments and opportunities for students to really practice the skills that are necessary for on the job, day-to-day interactions with others in the workplace. We also have workshops that we host either through business communications or through Chase, and we're developing more and more of those each semester as we move forward. But that's general ways that we reach our students vis-a-vis these topics.
Holly, how do do we have programs that help students understand roles within organizations and kind of learning how to manage up, right, the communications and leverage interactions? This came from one of our alums, graduated in 1990. Any thoughts on that?
Yes. So a lot of this really, in addition to what happens in the classroom, takes place in the one-to-one interactions with our career coaches. So we encourage all of our students to have an appointment with a career coach. And this last fall semester, we had over 1,200 one-to-one career coach appointments. That doesn't include the career peer appointments. And we had over 2,000 interactions. So student interactions through clubs and in-class lectures from Chase Career Center. So we have a lot of customized activities that take place either through classes, through student clubs, but also in our one-to-ones. We do a lot with our students in our one-to-one coaching appointments. It's really the opportunity where we can help students sort of see themselves on the job and in the workplace. One other area of growth for us is something that we've talked about for a while. It's a program we refer to as backpack to briefcase. And it's something that I really would like to see us be able to develop in the near future. And it could be an elective, it could be a series of events. We need to flesh that out a bit, but really it addresses these topics and allows students to see themselves not just get the job, but what they're going to do when they're there in the ways that this question is trying to get at, I think. And that is for leveling up and for having sometimes difficult conversations with colleagues and how to sort of assert oneself appropriately in the workplace and all of that. So that is an area of growth for us to do more of. I'm pretty excited about, and I think the concept of backpack to briefcase is a really good one to address.
Great. I love that. I love that. What about, Holly, can you, because a few questions have come in, who recruits at Eisenberg? And how can Eisenberg, or how are you working, for example, I know there's a number of students are interested in the digital tech companies. What's the process that we use to expand our engagement with industry partners that are looking for jobs? How do we get on their radar screen?
Okay, so first, let me just tell you some of the people who do recruit at Eisenberg. We have some really strong, long-standing relationships with public accounting firms as well as our regional accounting firm partners. We have some of the big recruiters who come to Eisenberg, who are on campus, but come to Eisenberg in particular, Liberty Mutual, Oracle, Marriott, Hilton, TJX, Dell, Citi, JP Morgan, Target, Bose, Wayfair, Raytheon Technologies. I could go on and I won't just list them all, but really we engage with lots of employers. And as I say, have had long-standing, really nice, strong relationships with most of them. So one of the things that we need to probably expand more of is our outreach, but we do need already have a sort of a system in place where we work with employers to bring them into our environment, and they engage with our students in networking events. They do resume reviews and other things so they get to know our students really well. We need to tap our alumni connections more. It's something that we are trying to formalize, and you just mentioned that as an area that we need to grow. It's something that, again, we need to formalize. And we need to look at the relationships we can leverage actually with some of the other folks on campus, where we could do some projects in classrooms, for example, having cross-functional teams with engineering or computer science, so students can get together and solve some complex, interesting business problems that really showcases some of the features of our students as well as other students on campus. And it allows us to expand into different areas and maybe generate some new relationships with employers.
And I think just for our alumni who are out there, as I mentioned earlier, and Holly would echo this, is that if you're in an organization that doesn't yet recruit from Eisenberg, and you're doing great, right? Because we know you are, is that you can be a conduit to create opportunities and create those relationships, recruiting relationships, even if it starts as an internship or alumni panel. So I think that's great. Now I'm going to turn to a question that's I think very relevant question that we're all aware of, that relates directly to the pandemic, that the hospitality and tourism industry has been really hit hard by the pandemic. And as many of you know, we have our HTM, Hospitality and Tourism Management major. And the question is, what is being done in Eisenberg to provide extra support to those students in the HTM major, particularly those that are close to completion of their degree? And I will also note that, as I mentioned earlier, and Holly knows, I think all of our students in varying degrees were affected by the pandemic, particularly last summer with internships and jobs. So Holly, if you could speak to HTM specifically, but also more broadly, what we're trying to do to help our students as we look into this spring and more specifically.
Sure. So one of the things we've done intentionally and strategically is to assign a coach from Chase Career Center to work closely with the HTM department and its students who have been highly affected by the pandemic. So one example of some of the things that are happening in HTM that are different and are in reaction to the pandemic, proactive reaction, I would say. HTM has was planning to hold a career fair in the fall. It has its own career fair separate from the Eisenberg Career Day, although HTM students do participate in the Eisenberg Career Fair. But HTM has had its own career fair for years. It's student run. It's a beautifully organized event that the students put on. So this year, instead of holding it in the fall, they moved it to the spring. So that is coming up. That's a way to allow employers to have better insight into what they're going to need for the summer and for internships and possibly for full-time positions. Students who are running the career fair, as I say, work with Chase Career Center. So we provide some support for them, even though it is largely their own event. We've had the coach who's assigned to HTM work with them around the career fair, but also going into classes regularly. I think our career coach, Dave Wells, who's working with HTM, went into several classes this fall where he actually talked to small and large groups of students about possibilities and ways to think of themselves differently in this environment. We have been encouraging HTM students, in fact, to think sort of beyond what might be traditional HTM jobs and to imagine some of the many skills and talents they bring to the table as HTM students and going beyond the traditional employers in hospitality and consider others who are looking for people in customer service or in retail or other event jobs. So to broaden their search and to realize actually that they're highly desirable candidates in some other venues. So we're actually doing a lot of that for all of our students, but since the question was about HTM, I focused on that major, but we really have been trying to partner with our departments to target the different needs of our students in the different majors.
And I think the next question or related question was, where do we see HTM major moving forward for this spring and beyond? And I just want to say Holly's spoken specifically to what the office has been doing to support them. And stay tuned because I've been working very closely, others with the department and the department's advisory board, which is a phenomenal board of industry representatives. And so we've been in close consultation. We've got some, I think, very creative ideas to move opportunities, to create new opportunities for students, as Holly said, leveraging some of their real strong competencies that may be beyond the traditional pale of what we think of hospitality and tourism management. So stay tuned. We are paying attention to that, and we're investing some really good thinking in that. I'm very excited about that space. Holly, a related question or a question that came in is, what is, in your mind, the most important networking skill in 2021?
So I think I've given this some thought and actually talked to our Director of Operations and Employer Engagement, Melissa Salva, as well as our Executive Director, Nick Wegman. We actually talked a little bit about this morning in a meeting that we were in. So one of the things that we kind of boiled down to really was putting in the time and effort. So I think sometimes our students are really schooled well, I believe, in knowing some of the requirements in the job search that they need to follow, the things that they need to do. But actually putting the time and the effort into pursuing what it is that they want is another story. So doing the research, recording one's activities, and then tracking one's progress is probably the number one thing to do. So informational interview, knowing who the right person is for you to do an informational interview with, and then following up and taking things to the next step. So really doing the follow through and engaging with people in a way that is planned, is intentional, and one takes responsibility for it in tracking. Sort of leaving no stone unturned, and then once that stone is turned over, really looking at what they've got there and following through with it.
Holly, can you speak, because I know that we had some sessions in the fall, workshops on this. This is a little off our script, but for students doing interviews in the middle of this pandemic, because most everything is being done via Zoom, can you talk to how are things looking for internships and jobs, your sense of that? And then what are we doing to help students do those interviews remotely? It's very different. It's very weird for everybody.
Yeah, so we're watching closely what the opportunities are for the summer, for full-time positions and for internships. Right now, employers are sort of preparing for both, knowing that it may be virtual, or hopefully that some things can be back in person. We continue to have large number of postings, and we are in ongoing conversations with our employers about what their plans are. So what we are doing is preparing students for the virtual interview. And by the way, I should just say, interviews have been going virtual before the pandemic. So that is a practice that's been in place for quite a while, and it's only been increasing over the years. And so I say the pandemic has kind of sealed the deal on that. I mean, some of our partners who were only doing virtual interviews and virtual interactions for a while now. So we are developing more and more resources to help students prepare for virtual interactions. We have guides, we have tips for navigating virtual interactions with employers. We really actually, as I say this out loud to everyone here now, I'm thinking, wait a minute, we need some more IDAs on this. So new lists, new items for our IDA list, but really giving students opportunities to practice. There's a lot of accountability that probably needs to be set in place, because we are doing our classes remotely by and large, right? And so reminding students about the value of turning on the video as opposed to hiding behind their names and stuff like that. Sitting up and all of those things that we all know to try to keep in our minds. But yeah, providing some opportunities for practice and tips for sure.
Thank you. Well, let's turn, because we've been getting a number of questions as we've been going along here, and we had a few questions in advance, and I'm hoping I can capture this. Our alums and our friends are very interested in how they can help us, and I kind of touched on some things, but Holly, can you speak to the actual process? So how can I get, here's a question, how can I get more involved in working with students and possibly recent alumni? How do I connect with students, and especially if we have some alums that may have jobs, how do we work that relationship external to internal? What's the process that we can share with people? Where do they go?
Right. So currently, largely what happens is an alum reaches out usually to Chase Career Center and our Director of Employer Engagement, Melissa Salva. They may also go to graduate programs. That tends to be those two locations tend to be where people start. So Chase Career Center and graduate programs. And they usually ask what it is that they can do, or share what their opportunity is, what it is that they're offering. And then we try to pair them with either the right class, if it's an opportunity for a visit, if it's an opportunity for a case study or something like that, we try to pair them with the faculty or the department or the class that makes sense. Sometimes it's for a job posting, of course, and then we post the jobs and spread the word, and sometimes tap departments again for helping spread the word. We make connections for the alums with our student clubs as well. So this is actually an area, I just need to admit, that we are trying to formalize and do a little more proactive solicitation of. Having this conversation today is one form of that. We realize we need to do a little more outreach, but the way it stands now is people should contact Chase Career Center and Melissa Salva, and we will make the right connections for folks.
That's great. That's great. Yeah. So the last set of questions deal with what we're hoping to evolve towards providing access and support for our alumni in their careers over there. And I know some of our alumni partially due to the pandemic, have had career changes. They may have lost their jobs and so on. So let me just ask a couple questions that have come in. What type of online resources can alumni utilize for career development and employment going forward? Any suggestions now? I know we're not there 100% and we've got a lot of work to do, but any thoughts on that?
Well, we certainly have our in-process IDAs that we are making available for our alumni. We also have some recommendations of things that people can do for searches. And people may be aware of this, but there are a lot of sort of short-term opportunities that are related to remote work that are happening. But we've found by watching what these short-term opportunities, we found that they often turn into longer-term opportunities, that people get offered full-time positions that are ongoing once they've engaged in a short-term opportunity. So we would encourage people to not dismiss something that looks initially temporary or short-term. There are a lot of online job searches folks can do that really are sponsored typically by secondary job boards and talent acquisition firms. If people do keyword searches around remote position job boards and remote in COVID, there are a number of opportunities that will pop up.
Good. And then of course, we're hoping that we'll be increasing access through our IDAs and other services going forward. Here's the question that came in. This is a small question, but do Eisenberg alumni still get access to LexisNexis?
I am afraid that Eisenberg alumni, no alumni of UMass actually get access to the library databases. That is something that we don't currently offer, but most public libraries have fairly extensive databases, and residents of Massachusetts, I've recently learned, can access a Boston Public Library e-card, which is pretty much a ticket to a lot of the things that you would get through the UMass library.
Wonderful. That's very good. Well, Holly, do you have any last, I think as I look at the questions that have come in, I think that we've kind of touched on answers that kind of cut across how our alumni can be involved, what we currently do, what we're trying to do in response to the pandemic and our efforts going forward. Is there anything else that you'd like to add that you think we've missed?
Well, I would love to hear from alumni directly myself. I would welcome alumni to send me emails or give me a call, letting me know what it is that they would like to do to be involved. We've got a fairly big set of initiatives ahead of us, and I think there's lots of opportunity for engagement around those initiatives. We're actively setting up panels, as you mentioned, this boot camp for our MSBAs, MSAs, MFAIs that's coming up next week on Friday, in fact, ends with some concurrent sessions, and we're tapping alums and employer partners to participate in some of these panels. So those opportunities are only proliferating. So really, if people have things, connect with me on LinkedIn, shoot me an email, contact Melissa Salva. We really would love to hear from you and welcome your ideas and offers. And thank you for what you've done so far, and thank you for what you will do.
A question had come in, and I'm just going to speak to this and promise the questioner that we're going to come back to this around resources or advisors with regard to international opportunities, applying to foreign companies and so on. And I won't put Holly on the spot on that. I know that we do have some students that do that, but one of the priorities that I mentioned earlier for the school, and we're going to spend some time focused on that in one of our sessions a little bit later, I think actually on February 25th, is creating global citizens and inclusive leaders. And one of the things related to creating global citizens is advancing international opportunities for our students, whether it's a semester abroad or a summer abroad, work opportunities and the like. And so we'll of course be working closely with the Office of Career Success on that. We do some of it now, but we don't do enough, and we want to do more.
And I would just like to add that I think Eisenberg has on campus the largest number of students who study abroad.
Yeah, oh, that is fantastic. That is really fantastic. So I think we're just about out of time, and we promised an hour. You've taken your lunch hour, and I appreciate that. Thank you so much. First off, thanks to Holly and to her team for all the work that they've been doing. Yeoman's work, pivoting on the dime last spring, but really running with it and advancing some new initiatives this fall and into the spring. We've got great opportunity in front of us. And, you know, we're again excited about ramping up the initiatives related to the Office of Career Success. So I've talked to you, and Holly has, about many ways that you can be involved. And so we again appreciate your support and spreading the good word. This event and the ones that we'll be having this spring are really about engaging with you, our alumni and our friends, and sharing with you all the good things and things that we're trying to do within the school. So I hope to see you. I hope to eventually see people, but I hope to have you join us again next month, February 25th. And as I mentioned, we'll be talking about our initiatives in and around the priority of creating global citizens and inclusive leaders. And so stay tuned. An email will be going out with that. And any questions, we'll be looking at the questions that have come in. And if there's things that we didn't address, we will definitely try to address those post this event. But again, thank you, Holly. Thanks to Marcom for all your efforts in making this happen. I think it's fun. I always learn a lot, so I appreciate it. So everybody have a great day, and we'll be back in touch very soon. Thank you.
Thank you.